And also, thank you to Mr. Anderson and Miss Ank who make this possible year after year for us. Woo! Another thanks to the tech crew hustling up there to keep the lights on and the sound piping. And a final thank you to all of you for being in the audience with an open heart today to honor our students on stage who share their work with us so bravely. Please hold space for them by turning off our phones and putting them away. And now for the voices that matter the most, I'm happy to introduce our first student guest, Sophia Whittam.
Hello. First, I want to give a shout out to Mrs. O'Donnell's second period class. Also, shout out to my mom. Okay. So today I'll be reading a poem I wrote, and it's called Perfection. Perfection is totally achievable. In fact, perfection is my favorite food. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, I devour it 3 times a day and look forward to it the next. Perfection is a sunset that I keep stashed away in an artificial box. It's an outfit I set out the night before. Perfection is straightening my hair every morning, making my bed to feel productive and organized. Perfection is my driving force. It's practically why I exist. Perfection. Perfection is that large nonfiction book I spent a lot of money on that I'll never read, perched on my desk for the sole purpose of being decorative. Perfection is snoozing my alarm for 15 more minutes, like those 900 more seconds will do me justice. Perfection is walking home after a day of school, seeing the elementary school kids on the playground, wishing that was me again. Perfection. Perfection is staying up late to study. High on caffeine, it's writing so much that my hand hurts. The lead snapping clean under my tense grasp, ears bright red, the pits in my stomach growing with every inhale, with every exhale. Perfection is the incessant noises around me. Like mosquitoes buzzing in my ear on a muggy summer night, I just can't seem to soundproof my mind from the stare of pressure. Perfection is that sophomore year friend who swiftly cut ties with me. Imperfection. Perfection is snow. The way car headlights illuminate a dark winter sky, revealing gusts of frigidness, yet there is so much comfort in coldness. Perfection is not being able to put a book down. It's staring into space after watching a movie. Perfection is my mother. Her warm arms holding me tight, telling me that it's okay to be flawed, to not feel fulfilled, to be afraid of the light at the end of the tunnel. Perfection may not be achievable, but it's here, not in the way we think it be. Perfection is imperfection. Thank you. Next up, we have Adeline Hahn.
Hi, I'm Adeline Hahn. Shout out to my second period Fudala class. Today I'll be reading something that I wrote for my bakery. When I first created my own home bakery, it was during a time when I felt like life had become an impossible dystopian reality. COVID-19 had rapidly shut down my entire world. Gone were the weekly cello lessons, karate competitions, and debate practices. In their place, I spent hours consuming YouTube videos, ranging from everyday vloggers to adventurous daredevils from a seemingly distant past, where friends gathered without masks or the fear of spreading the virus. Physically isolated from my friends, the days seemed to blur into weeks, passing faster than I could blink. Yet, I had nothing to show for it. Without the structured schedule school provided, I lost a sense of purpose to set goals and accomplish them. In those moments, baking became my only distraction from the outside chaos, as I devoted hours to perfecting pillowy dough rises and richly smooth desserts. As I experimented, horrible, inedible batches of rock-hard pretzels and syrupy lemon macarons were thrown into the garbage can. Those never made it onto my menu, but a few recipes would turn out to be my biggest sellers: Hokkaido milk bread, tiramisu, and fresh fruit tarts. From the very beginning, my parents set the expectations that every dime invested into my business would come from myself. I could have given up then, as spending several $100s saved from years of Chinese New Year money on food certification courses and equipment seemed unnecessary. Still, I pushed through the monetary challenges, realizing that I need to find my business's why, revolving Ling Ling's Bakery around giving back to my local community with Asian American inspired baked goods in order to continue pursuing my goals during the most difficult times. Investing my own money into the bakery has demonstrated a parallel between my own investments and the life lessons my parents have provided me to become a more successful individual. Advancing past each setback to earn a profit has taught me to cherish my parents' lessons, especially during the first milestone when I broke even with my initial investment. Experimenting with prices, packaging, and targeting different markets, I gained a sense of unbridled independence through the opportunity to make my own decisions unrelated to academics. Similar to the deeply rewarding process of baking Hokkaido milk bread from scratch, the numerous obstacles of 5 a.m. wake-ups and accidentally burning myself were worth it, as I found a productive hobby that helped me creatively distress. Mirroring the simple yet intricate process of kneading dough, I built my business step by step, starting in the fundamentals of utilizing pre-order forms and the first-in, first-out method to reduce the possibility for products to spoil before being sold. Developing a social media presence to promote Ling Ling's Bakery has helped me connect to a global community of bakers who collaborate with one another to uplift each other's businesses. Within this community, I have learned that consistency is key in steadily growing a loyal clientele, similar to the necessity of patiently proofing milk bread twice. In turn, they have expanded my network of clients by referring me to new customers across the Chicagoan suburbs. But as Ling Ling's Bakery grew, so did the struggles of physical space. Like dough being punched down to its starting size, my kitchen's limited capacity was a formidable obstacle. 3 loaves of milk bread fit into the oven at one time, and 10 servings of tiramisu space was allowed for me in the fridge. Creating innovative solutions to increase my capacity for larger orders resulted in humbling opportunities to give back to communities who had endowed me with innumerable life skills. Like bread exiting the oven in its glorious golden tan complexion, piping hot with a slightly sweet, yeasty aroma, the culmination of these baking experiences have influenced me to embrace the present through continually challenging myself. Thank you. Next up is Ali.
Hello. Shout out to Miss Odie's second hour class. All right. I'm gonna be reading a story about like this girl I liked in 8th grade. Like the relationships are pretty cringe, so I wanted to like write about it. Yeah. During my 10th year of schooling, this being the last at the Peculiar Institute, a certain girl had stationed herself within my thoughts. In re-examination, it's often that I wonder what exactly drew me to her and inevitably to trouble. Since these events were 2 years ago on the clock, much of the intoxication I've felt has since been replaced by other events and lost in time. However, there remains a story that I'd like to share. In 8th grade, the year our school offers boarding, I met Serena from Missouri. I expect that I liked her for the warmth that she exerted. When we talked, it seemed like there was nothing behind her words. I love that type of stuff. It always felt as though Serena really did appreciate your conversation, which was really different from the other girls in our class. Up until that point, when you talked to a girl, it felt like you were talking to a foreign creature, but Serena was more like your friend. And that's why all the guys liked her, including your humble narrator. Months later, with the arrival of the winter winds, she was expelled from the school and sent home. By this moment in time, much of the grade started like hating her for some reason that I didn't understand. I had remained solid in my love though, and the next few weeks in classes, people were like saying a lot of bad stuff about her, which I was pissed. And I was pretty confused about why like she was expelled or why people didn't like her anymore because I didn't know the details. But on the 8th morning of December, I awoke to the ring of a message and my heart leaped. It was Serena. We exchanged how are yous and how's it going, just pleasantries, and I pretended like I hadn't been crying for the last 2 weeks. But it was really nice to hear from her. She said, I miss you guys so much. It sucks here. Hopefully I can revisit soon. I'd very much like to hug you. This hug business she planned had me quite flustered, which is like kind of like a kiddish thing, but at this time, hugs felt like sex. Yeah. Anyway. I was like jumping up and down, screaming, listening to like Juice WRLD and like running around the house. But then she sends me another message. I'm kind of scared though. My dad keeps hitting me for no reason. What? He makes me leave the door open all the time and keeps yelling at me. There's bruises all over my arm now. All her past mentionings about her father had been on positive notes, and I was left like perplexed. Serena depicted the depth of the situation while repeatedly telling me how she was afraid and wanted to run away. By this point, I was quite riled and angry and scrambled with fear myself, but I found the state of events to be something that could not be left as they were. Serena's chances to escape out of the state on her own were much slimmer than if I helped her, which is precisely what I decided to do. I looked for train ticket prices at the stations near her house, staying in communication over Gmail all the while she packed her bundle of possessions. We figured out where to meet in Chicago and where she would stay, which is like a secret room at our school if we like unlocked the door. And, oh, I lost my place. Oh, for my 12-year-old mind, this like plan brought me like an unprecedented thrill. Like my life had just been like homework and watching Netflix up until this point. And I was like, damn, I'm about to live out this movie for real. It was both scary and exciting because she would be safe and I might be held by a girl and not a relative. Serena was caught an hour later, though, by a taxi driver. He was like, girl, what the hell are you doing going to a train station at this time? She went home and her father was furious. He ended up investigating her conversations and traced them back to my name, and then called the administration, my parents, and my teachers, and I was to be pulled from the school. I don't really get it now that I think about it, but yeah. All the adults around me told me that Serena was lying about her dad's actions, and she just wanted a friend during her endeavor. The objective facts of the situation still remain unclear, and it all manifests deep in my mind as a forgotten story, as though it hadn't occurred. I think that love changes a person's judgment in a very interesting way. You do some stupid stuff all in the name of love, but sometimes, especially in 8th grade, that love isn't really love, and it just ends up in weird stories. So yeah, I'd say when it comes to Riz, be careful and try to make sure that, I know I'm going with this. Just be safe out there. Yeah, that's all I got. Next up is Eva.
Hello, all. Thank you for coming today. I hope you're enjoying Writers Week so far. First off, I'd like to give a shout out to my second period Dickinson Schaefer's American Studies class. Okay, I'll be sharing 2 poems with you today. One in which is really personal to me, so trigger warning. The first piece is titled Where I'm From. Please enjoy. I'm from the joy that came the day I was born. I'm from the innocence I once had, the one that when you look into my eyes, you know it's there. I'm from the laughter and happiness that filled my family's hearts and a part of my life that I was missing but just couldn't grasp. I'm from the sound of music that filled the room that is captured in a memory that I still remember each day. A memory that I hold dearly was when we were all together. I could feel the love and smell the sweet smell of happiness that smelled as good as flowers and sunshine. I see us in a picture that captured our caring hearts for one another. Until this day, it's an instant replay in my mind. I taste the savory Portillo's beef subs we take with us to the park and embrace each other's company. Now it's all a memory that I miss, and a memory I'm afraid of losing. I'm from the light of my smile, that of a child who was cheerful. I'm from the yelling that came from all around. I'm from the ungrateful and disrespectful kid of my past. Now that I'm not who I used to be, I see more clearly now. I'm from the frown that replaced my bright smile and the tears of sorrow that pour out like a waterfall. I'm from the regret of my behavior and what I could have and should have done. But I know that I didn't know any better. The lightness I had was also replaced with darkness, a dark hole I saw no way out, the place where I felt like I had nothing. I'm from the care that I have for others when it's not reciprocated. I'm from the feelings that I keep so deep within, afraid of experiencing more pain even if I'm broken and falling apart. All I needed was a light brighter than the sun, a presence that I got from church, and that presence that is still with me today. A presence of love, peace, joy, and comfort that is everlasting. Even in my darkest hour, I have seen the light. Indeed, I'm not the person I used to be. The growth of maturity and realization is what makes me grateful. I'm from lightness and happiness to darkness and pain, but my identity is not from who I was or what I've done. I'm forgiven. My next piece is titled Essence. What does it mean? What does it mean to be an individual, one may ask? A natural embodiment of spirit? Maybe, in fact, an innovative mind with thoughts deeper than the ocean, if not careful, one can drown in. Endless amounts of possibilities just waiting to be noticed. What it means to be an individual, there are many ideas of what that is. All is certain that conformity is not one of its characters. Conformity in regards to societal and worldly views on behavior, opinions, and overall identity, which would explain the sense of self that is lacking, being the common form of crisis. Mind, heart, and soul are all connected, which serves as different intensities of perception. The mind being thoughts, heart being emotion, and soul being the innermost core of existence. It all makes sense. Soul playing a role in connection, which explains two flesh becoming one in marriage, an overall soul-to-soul connection, one that cuts deeper than a sword piercing flesh. I want to drown in the depths of your ocean, a void filled with unknown possibilities, a new way of living and thinking that doesn't conform to any standards at all, one that is authentic and pure and serves a specific purpose in its wonders and beauty, an ocean that captures my infatuation with every bit of you. Indeed, I am in need of your essence. Thank you.
Next up is Lainey.
I'd like to shout out Miss Morano's English class and to my mom and Nana who came here today. Before I read, just to let you know, the speech is about OCD and anxiety and the struggles with it and the passing of a person and grieving. When people ask me, why do I draw 4 lines before drawing? Why do you need stress balls? Those are for kids. Why are you so perfect? These things make me self-conscious about myself and make me think, why am I like this? Why do people treat me so differently from everybody else? I wish I could change myself. OCD stands for obsessive compulsive disorder, which features a pattern of unwanted thoughts and urges to do something that you cannot control. Sometimes I really take what people say to heart. I'd stop talking to everybody to the point where they would get very worried. And when I can't take it anymore, I text my best friend asking him, what should I do and what's wrong with me? He says, you're perfect just the way that you are, no matter what disorder you have. If they judge you, they're nothing but a bunch of ugly people. And you know what makes them so ugly? Is because they're not you. You're unique. They're just normal and basic people don't have unique qualities like you. I'm thankful to have my best friend in my life and all my other friends that support me through my struggles. Sometimes OCD is useful, like I don't have to worry about getting dirty or drawing straight lines in geometry class. Other times, it's really bad, like sometimes I can't go through a full day without stressing out. So sometimes I would use these big blocky headphones to block out the sound. Over the years, I've learned to control my OCD to a certain extent. Sometimes I can control it, sometimes it gets out of hand. And one day, when I went home from school, I could tell that something was wrong. My mom looked at me with a serious look on her face, and my dad came around the corner with the same look on his face. My hands are sweaty, my eyes filled with tears, worried what they might say. My mom picked up the courage and told me that while I was at a sleepover that following night, my grandma had passed away. My OCD and anxiety kicked in like there was no tomorrow, tears falling down my face like a waterfall. I was absolutely devastated. My heart was pounding. I couldn't breathe. It was like I was breathing out of a straw. I started to calm down when my mom whispered, "It's hard now, but things are going to get better." Now that I'm a sophomore in high school, I've learned to maintain my OCD. It's still a struggle that I have to deal with. Things will get harder, messier, stressful, and my OCD might take over sometimes. But I always think of what my mom told me. Just take it one step at a time, enjoy every day, and don't stress about the future. Having OCD is a blessing and a curse, but when you have friends and family that support you, it's not so bad. Thank you. Next is Treasure.
Good morning, y'all. Okay, so the first piece I will be sharing with y'all is a song that I wrote. It's called Hold for Applause, or December. It's double titled because both things are like a very important symbol in the song, which you'll notice. Okay. Hold my hand and take my breath away. I heard you again. Does it mean more now than it did then? I spend so much of my meantime meaning for it to be someone else, but maybe I've waited for too long. And maybe I've just built myself a new shell. I'm holding on for too long, it seems. And everything is far away now. I miss you all the time, and I don't know you. Symptoms of delusion come all at once. I'm holding my breath. I'm watching. Holding for dramatic effect. I've waited and watched and prayed and looked on for what I don't know will ever exist. I believe so hard and hope even harder. Reality that exists, just one I refuse to go for. A breath between two, or a ghost and a good time. I swallow myself whole, and the bitter taste stains my tongue. It's tomorrow now. It's tomorrow now. It's tomorrow now. It's tomorrow now. and it's cold outside, and it's cold outside. I find myself praying silently now, patting out little fires with little breaths, reminiscent of blowing out a candle. It's December, it's December again, and I'm holding my breath, I'm holding my breath. I'm holding my breath. And it's cold outside. Thank you. So there is a second piece. It's not a song. So this piece I wrote for, shout out Miss O'Donnell's second period AP Lang class. I wrote this piece for Into the Wild. It's called Live versus Survive. Cold concrete. A head lying on cold concrete, a smile plastered on his face as he sleeps, dreamless. When the sun begins clawing its way over the horizon, he begins his journey to the soup kitchen on 53rd and 8th. He learned early on that the kitchen on that street serves more than just food for the homeless and resource-challenged. They serve knowledge. They serve bowls of soul and spirit, these little wooden bowls that fit in a pair of grateful hands like a dove, warm and injured, ready to be taken care of. The people at the kitchen emanate an energy that dances around all who chance conversing with them, painting a yellow-green aura onto the outline of their bodies. The man counts his steps as he passes by neighbors, friends, acquaintances, his collection of friends, the mailman who really only delivers advertisements for a startup studio company. He's really a music man. The man's collection of friends, the music man, delivering ads, the new mother on 9th Street who knitted him a hat and gloves when February's unexpected storm hit with an ever-raging fury that felt not unlike a punishment, the neighborhood kids who greet him with cheerful smiles and call him the Hat Man because he wears a different hat every time they see him. They keep getting stolen as he sleeps. The graffiti on the walls, they're his friends too. The graffiti artists, those being the teenagers he warns to stay away from 60th Street. It got him when he was their age, early. He almost didn't recover. But prison, if not prison, then nothing else will sober a man up, especially a man like the Hat Man. The Hat Man greets every tree, every living thing, because every one thing is living. They all have names, so they all have a soul. When he returns from the soup kitchen from heaven, the Hat Man's soul smiles a smile so light and brilliant that the sun perceives the challenge. It beats down competitively, covering every inch of ground for miles. So after searching for 3 hours, the Hat Man removes his hat and lays in an alleyway with his coat spread evenly under him, thankful for his cold concrete. A boy stands in a cold hospital in the shadow of his father, the only thing still shielding him from reality. When his father shifts positions to get down on one knee and hug him, a sound erupts from the boy that he didn't know he could make. He curses himself, angry at himself for reasons that are not his own to bear. His father prays in his head silently and thunderously over and over again, "Spare him, spare my boy," he thinks, "not him." The funeral went quickly. Prayer, speech, food, prayer, speech, burial. The boy kicks up dirt with his small Oxford shoes, narrowly missing his mother's grave. Sickle cell. That's what they said. Those are the words that they used, in that order, in that way. 2 words shattered his entire life, and the pieces came crashing down in sharp slices he was now forced to reckon with. A man stands above a grave, loosening and tightening his tie, cursing himself for wearing it at all. He touches the stone and says her name lightly, just under his breath so the wind can catch it and carry it up to her. He believes that's how it works. It's what his father has said to him every time another year added on to the sum of years since his mother died. Sickle cell. He presses on a bruise on his neck, loosening his collar. Once home, he sits at his marble table, alone, cold, and angry. Angry at himself and angry at God, he curses swiftly, yet with a poise and grace that suggests years of practice. He pats the bruise, and a bolt of sharp pain slices through his body. Reluctantly, he calls his father. As the end tone clicks, he sits with himself in silence, not noticing when boyish tears begin to volley down his cheeks. He holds his head in his hands, staring at the tie in front of him. His father's cries and prayers reverberate in his head, audible this time. This time, they're for him. Living and surviving. Living or surviving. If anyone lived any of these men's lives, I'm sure they wouldn't be able to tell the difference, but the truth is, while both men are surviving, only one is really living. In life, the thing that matters is living, and living cannot be achieved if you're not actively rooting for your own happiness. Every one living thing has participated in actions that ensure their survival, but the majority do not advocate for the fullness of their own life. Living will always be better than surviving because it means more to have a life and live it in a way that encases happiness in every moment than to have a life and spend it cursing yourself for not doing more to prolong it. Thank you. Next up is Thomas Liu.
Booking.com. I'm going to somewhere, anywhere.
Okay, I have a short story that I wrote for you guys, but first off, I have a shout out to Mrs. Fudala's second period AP Lit class. All right, well, this is a little wisp of a short story that I wrote. It's called Laurel, New York, 1996. It's close to morning when she realizes she can't sleep. Barefoot in her robe, she gets out of bed to brew coffee, lets the sputtering liquid poke holes in the silence. She can see the shadow of him rise and fall when she looks back to the bed. In the gray pre-morning, she only remembers fragments of the previous night. Laurel Apartments, he'd said, and your name is Laurel. That's funny. She'd gushed, isn't it romantic? Now she brushes her teeth as she waits for the sun to rise, straightens her end of the bed. She looks out at the softly glowing city, wishes her apartment had a balcony she could sit out on, wishes for a plant on the windowsill, wishes, too, for a quieter coffee machine. A pigeon flies close to her face across the glass, wings iridescent in the quiet light. If she stares hard enough at the window across the street, she thinks she can see through the reflective sheen into the room beyond, wondering about that other apartment-sized life nestled close amongst millions of others. When he stirs in the bed, she lets the night neatly fold itself up with the ritual she has become accustomed to. She offers him a sip from her cup. He declines in a rush, citing the time in the morning traffic, and she lets him leave, makes his side of the bed as the door closes. After 4 months in New York, Laurel has learned to ignore it when she needs to. AM radio blaring from parked taxis, the slight whoosh of cars passing, the shallow palpitation of mornings in the city. She's memorized her route. The call center where she works is 4 blocks down, 3 blocks right. Impulsively, she steps into a bakery, waits 5 minutes in line for a bagel before giving up. In the office building, the woman across from her cubicle grimaces before every call she takes. Laurel wonders if she does the same thing, resolves to smile as she talks to customers, mostly tired, expectant mothers buying winter hats and coats for their children. There are times when she wishes, like hell, she could be like them, others when she hates herself for it. Aren't you happy in the city? She imagines old friends from Pennsylvania saying, isn't this what you always wanted? And in the middle of a call, she thinks she forgot to rinse out the coffee cup on her counter, imagines the sugar at the bottom drawing flies. Hello, hello? Asks the woman on the other end, expectant. Laurel apologizes. During her lunch break, she returns to her apartment only to find the cup rinsed and put back in the cupboard. She runs it under a little water, nonetheless. At 5, she makes the trek back for the night, 3 blocks right, 4 blocks down. An hour later, she makes a meal in the microwave. Nowadays, she barely glances at the stove, prides herself on how clean she's kept it. She remembers reading once that you had to let little changes in your life accumulate to become big ones. A month ago, her mother mailed her a book on how to navigate the city as a young person, and it has since lain forgotten on her nightstand. As she eats a mouthful of meatloaf, she idly leaves through its pages, stops on one that reads, "City folk only drink black coffee." She puts 2 and 2 together and resolves to drink her coffee black tomorrow. And in the morning, she stares out the window like always, waiting for a shadow in her bed to stir, and she sips her black coffee like a real city woman. She thinks back to what she'd said 2 nights ago to a different shadow. Isn't it romantic? She brings her lips to the cup and watches the room across the street, the person she imagines moving beyond the sheen of light until their silhouette disappears. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you all so much. I'll let you process, because we have a little time left, let you process to see if you have any questions for the writers. But I've got a question to kick it off, if that's okay with y'all. My question is, I know our students' lives are very active, busy, even stressful. So my question is, how do you make time or hold motivation for your writing?
For writing, I think that like if you just sit and try to write a story, it doesn't like work because like the story doesn't just come from like the inside of your brain. So I spend a lot of time like walking outside and just like yelling songs on the street and climbing up trees and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, like he said, you can't just write something because you want to write it. You'd have to be like inspired or relate to the thing that you're writing.
I don't have a good answer to this question, but I think writing is work, and it's not like waiting for inspiration. It's like sitting down and forcing yourself to put something on the page.
I typically just write how I feel at that moment. I don't think I just write, so really I don't really lose any motivation. Just write.
I think my motivation from writing definitely comes when I get to like finish and read my finished piece, and like really see it come full circle and it finally like comes together.
Yeah, I would honestly say like the same thing. I think my motivation with writing is being able to like share either like the prompt or like the finished piece with one of my friends and like get their approval. And I mean, like, I believe my own work is good, but like it feels good to have someone whose opinion you value and like have them say that like they enjoy this piece, like this piece is good.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the student writers in the audience? Talk loud, because I can't hear. No questions. What you got? For Treasure, when did you start singing?
I think I started singing probably 10, 11 years ago. Yeah. Yeah. That's about it.
You can continue.
Okay. I didn't really like get into like the music part. I just was like a little kid that liked to sing when I was like 4. And then, well, when I moved to America, I started taking music like a little bit more seriously. I've been taking like music theory classes for the last 6 years. So I would definitely say like, if you want to get into singing, just go for it. Like Miss Collins says, Miss Collins, the choir teacher, you know, if you're interested in singing, you should join choir. But, hashtag join choir. If you really want to like sing, if you want to be into music, just go for it. Like the best advice I can give you is like go for it, and go for it with like all of your energy. Like music isn't really something you can like do halfway. It's like a whole body thing, you know? It's about like, it's not always about like performing, but expression. Yeah.
Thanks. What else is out there? Someone in the middle here? What do you got? For Ali, when is the last time you cried?
So, have you guys watched the movie Soul? Do you know that? Yeah, that movie. So like, I think that at school, a lot of kids equate their worth with how well they do and stuff. And like, if you're not really good at one thing, then you feel like your life isn't that special. So if you watch that movie, it kind of helps you with that. And when I watched this moment where like the main character just like starts laughing because of how beautiful life is, then I started crying.
Oh. I feel like I was missing somebody you were trying to get my attention for. I just can't see it all. Shh. What you got? What you got? A question for all of them. Your favorite rapper?
NBA Youngboy.
Pusha T.
ASAP Ferg.
Oh my gosh, I have to think. Hold on. Young Pappy. Young Pappy, that's my answer.
Did you ever get the hug from Serena? Or is that too personal, Ellie? All right.
Dude, Serena was so bad, bro. But like, I liked her for like the whole year, but she liked my friends, and I was always like that nice guy. I was like in the DMs like, yo, no, it's okay, bro. Like, you'll be fine. And then like, after 8th grade, I kind of like lost a bunch of weight, and then she like slid in my DMs like a year later. She was like, yo, you're cute now. What's up? So, yeah. I didn't get a hug though.
Serena's bad news. I think that's about all the time we got. Thank you for being awesome. Don't forget to be awesome.